Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Yeah, hello. I survived the fourth Republican debate. Was that the fourth or the third? Oh, God. I can't take many more, I'll tell you that. And I didn't last through the whole thing, but anybody who wants to talk about it, I'm here. Some of my favorite moments. There was actually a question, get this, from Neil Cavuto, who is from Fox News, and he said, I quote, regarding the various tax plans that these guys have, one crazier than the next. He said, whose plan would God endorse? Jesus. And that was my favorite tweet of the night. That prompted my favorite tweet of the night, which was from a guy named Patton Oswald, who said, they're debating what kind of tax plan God would like? Holy fuck! Why not ask the Tooth Fairy about estate planning? And then, my God, at one point, Carly Fiorina said, quote, Obamacare isn't helping anyone. I mean, what? It took my breath away. What planet are these people living on? Okay, some other. Ben Carson. Oh my God, he responded to some question about Syria with such. It literally. Remember was it a Miss America contestant or something who was asked a question, and it was just so sad. I mean, it was just like. South Carolina, right? I don't remember. God, was that her? Can you find that somewhere? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Let's find that. Do you remember? I mean, totally disjointed, discombobulated, meaning nothing. You couldn't. If you tried to find a subject and a verb in her response, you couldn't. And it was pretty much. He didn't quite rise to her level, but. He actually said, I swear to God he said, that, Russia's in there and China is in there. And I'm thinking, what? China? China is in Syria? That's news to a whole lot of people, including the Chinese. I mean, it just, oh dear, oh God. And here's another one. Ted Cruz. This is also when they're talking about taxes. Ted Cruz, quote, there are more words in the IRS code than there are in the Bible, and not a one of them is good. To which no one's around to defend the tax code. The reason that there are so many words in the tax code is because mostly lobbyists for the rich and the powerful, the folks that the Republican Party serves, have managed to insert through congressional. You got it? You have it? Okay, wait. We got to hear. So, you got to hear this poor woman's response. Whatever happened to her. Jeez. But she ain't running for president. She was just running for Miss America or something.
Okay. I'm trying to remember what the question was.
What? What was the question?
I'm trying to figure
It doesn't matter what the question was because it bore no. I mean, there was no correlation between her response. It was something like about world peace or something. I mean, it wasn't. You've got it. Wait. You got to put a microphone on. Hank.
Okay, so this is. I feel so bad for this poor woman.
I hope she's gotten over it.
She's Miss Teen USA from
Okay.
South Carolina in
Okay.
2007.
Aw, Miss Teen. Give her a break. Go ahead.
And the question is, why do you think that most Americans can't identify, or like 40% of Americans can't identify the U.S. on a map?
Oh, is that it? Well, she said, well, listen to this and you'll figure it out. And so what did she say?
Oh, and then, I mean, it's...
you're
I think
not gonna
it's a-
read it?
It's a 2-minute answer. I mean, she just...
Oh.
The poor thing just stumbles through everything, but the real highlight of it
All
is
right,
that
go
she keeps referring to people as U.S. Americans.
It was...
That's so sad.
Yeah.
Poor woman.
Celine is so empathetic. She can't read it because she'd start crying. Oh, man. Anyway, whatever. Somebody said, well, yeah, the IRS tax code, I'll tell you, in the Bible, they're all nonsense. They're all like totally, you can't slog through either one of them. Listen to Trump on Putin. He said, these people are running for the president. Listen to this. Presidency. As far as Syria goes, I like if Putin wants to go in. I got to know him very well because we were both on 60 Minutes. We were stablemates. We did well that night. Just a minute. I saw that 60 Minutes episode he's talking about. They had Putin on and they had Trump on. Those were interviews that were taped God knows when and God knows where. They weren't done live. They weren't together. He didn't meet Putin. He was on the same show as Putin. They were both subjects. He didn't meet him. They weren't sitting in the green room and then they walked out each to be interviewed. I mean, Scott Pelley's interview with Putin was done God knows when and then edited. What the 60 Minutes audience doesn't see something live. Oh, jeez. And Trump, he just, the inability to finish a thought without taking a detour for some self-aggrandizement, whether true or not. So he just wanted to get in that we did well that night. He wanted to talk about how it was a really highly rated show. And, of course, he was part of it, and so was Putin. So, I got to know him very well because we were both on 60 Minutes. They weren't in the same room. They were on TV together. I mean, not even, there was a thing on Trump, and then how could he say such a thing? Oh, and this is funny. Trump, on who his foreign policy advisors would be. I spoke to a general 2 weeks ago. A general who's really up on what we're talking about. I just don't. And then they said the horrible thing for Jeb Bush, who's stick a fork in him. Just stick a fork in him, please. Donald Trump at one point told Jeb Bush to shut up, essentially. Be quiet. And you know what? They said the worst moment of the debate is Jeb Bush did. I mean, jeez. Okay, so it was you know, I was entertained for the first one and maybe a little for the second, but I can't. This is this is how America is choosing its next leader. And when you see who's in the running for the Republican Party, it is frightening. Someone was talking about stage presence and how important that is, and how it's sort of like one of those things like, you either got it or you don't, and you can't learn stage presence. And it's just, it's as ephemeral and you can't. It's about how you stand, perhaps, and how you present yourself, and it is something that I couldn't help but notice in one case. One of the candidates absolutely does not have. And I mean, my God, all you would have to tell the guy is, you're standing with your shoulders stooped. You look like a loser. You've got to, I mean, that's easy to actually teach somebody just to stand up straight and to look strong. And the one who's like this, do you know who it is? Did you watch? And looking unhappy and miserable? John Kasich. Oh, my God. And when you look weak like that, you invite what happened to him with Donald Trump. And this didn't help Donald Trump any either. At one point, Trump turned on Kasich and said, hey, I built an unbelievable company worth billions and billions of dollars. I don't have to hear from this man. Believe me, I don't have to hear from him. You just oh, God. I could have been watching The Voice. Young people with great vocal cords singing. Would have been a lot better. Okay, so Monica said, Happy Veterans Day. I just want to say this to you, Monica. I have a niece who lost her love of her life in Iraq. And I remember her saying once to me with just gritted teeth, if one more person says Happy Veterans Day to me, I will. I mean, Veterans Day for her, I've been thinking about her today. Veterans Day for her is a day of grieving. It's a day of enforced memory and memory of unbearable loss. And it's like you don't say Happy Good Friday. You don't say Happy Yom Kippur for the Jews. You don't say Happy Veterans Day. I don't know what you say. I don't know how you mark it, but I do want to mark it. Most of the veterans that are alive in our country now, the overwhelming number of them are Vietnam War vets. And that was a horrific war to have been in. I was talking to someone in the elevator about the fact that none of these things were really legitimate wars. None of them. The United States has not declared war since Franklin Delano Roosevelt did in World War II. We have had no declared wars, constitutionally declared wars. They're all just whatever they are. Police. Korean War was not. Vietnam was not. Afghanistan, not. Iraq, not. Even friggin' Grenada, not. Don't say Happy Veterans Day. I think the parking things say it, though. Because I drove downtown today, and then I went to pay at one of those, what do they call them? I mean, I used to know what a meter was called. What do you call those things? Is it called a kiosk? It's not really a kiosk. Parking thingamajig, these. So I went to initiate my transaction with them, and I pressed the little green button like I'm supposed to, and poof, I think up came, if I'm remembering correctly, Happy Veterans Day. No fee. Park. You want to come downtown right now? Free parking. Happy Veterans Day. Yeah. Henry writes about the debate. The candidates are so quick to blame Obama or the Democrats for issues of the past 7 years. However, they quickly forget that his hands have been tied by the Republican majority in the House and the Senate. Maybe they should blame themselves. Well, yeah, Henry, come on. That ain't going to happen. I mean, both parties do that. You take credit for anything good that's happened on your watch, whether you got anything to do with it or not. You blame the other party if something bad happened during theirs, whether they are to blame or not. Henry says, I hate these debates where the candidates have carte blanche to ridicule their opponents who cannot be there to defend themselves. Hey, Henry, that's the way we do it around here. It's the way we do it. Margie says, I didn't watch. I'm sick of it. I don't blame you. Chuck is reminding me of an unhappy story. I did see today that Tribune Review, Trib Media, is laying off 153 employees. Listen, it's not good to be in the newspaper biz right now. And I have friends in this business, in newspapers, and it is, it's like being in the last steel mill here before, and knowing the axe was going to fall. It's ending. Their jobs are gone and going, and the business is just flailing, trying to figure out a way to stay ahead of technology and its readers' desires, and figure out a way how to still make money when everybody now expects everything for free on their phone, on their computer. Can't make money supplying free stuff. So I really don't know. I really feel sorry for all those people. Merry Christmas. Jeez. Maureen writes, originally this day was Armistice Day. Was it? And actually was a happy day. Meaning Armistice Day. What does Armistice Day mean? Victory? It's a victory day? Like we won? Well, we haven't been winning much lately. I mean, all these undeclared wars of ours that we have fought. It's the signing of a treaty. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I might take a pass on the next Republican debate. I'm telling you that right now. I don't want to feel I have to. Okay? We got a call.
Hey, Lynn, it's Mike from D.C.
Mike, how you doing?
Good. Have you read that? Did you hear about that article or about that device or computer that the Associated Press has where they just put in, like, Hurricane, South Carolina, this degrees, anticipated to drop here, and then the computer writes the story, like at 7:30 on, and that reporters who usually wrote it, now the editor just puts the data in there, and the computer follows the algorithm and writes a story.
Oh, dear. I mean, I have heard of this. I didn't realize the AP was using it. I know that I think some newspapers are already. You just plug in certain, like a house fire, you plug in certain information, and then, yeah. Can you imagine?
So my question, when you said 113 people were fired, how many people work there now? And
No. It was 150 something. Let me get it. For the Trib?
yeah, what percentage of their employees could that be, and who's left?
Well, is getting slimmer by the minute. A lot of these people are production people. So the Trib has been busy. This is Trib Total Media. They own a lot of little newspapers around the counties, surrounding counties. And I believe they've been selling those. And so they don't have the need. They say they're restructuring their company. They got to go digital. So, okay, 530. I don't know. I can't see in this. They're not telling me what the
See, that Associated Press thing would have done it. No, I'm kidding.
So, well, here, listen to this. 68 employees took buyouts last month. So they got rid of 68 through buyouts. Then they knocked another 153, and that's counting full and part-timers, off. Negotiations are ongoing on the sale of the Daily News in McKeesport and the Valley Independent in Monessen. They're trying to get rid, and that will result in 91 layoffs.
So again, who's left?
Not many people. I mean,
and how do you have a business with no people? And
well,
that's what Ford understood was, if I'm going to sell these cars to people, I got to give them enough money so they're going to buy this, be able to buy a car.
Yeah.
They have to make enough money. So who's left to buy anything, including their crappy newspaper?
Right. Well,
that's what, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face. You're eating your own cow and then wondering where the milk is gone.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're hemorrhaging money. I mean, we've learned from, since Scaife's death, that the only thing that was holding that paper up was his personal money. He just kept throwing millions and millions and millions of his money into that paper. The only reason it's still there is because he was rich enough to do that and keep it afloat. And to a certain extent, I believe the Block family, with owning the Post-Gazette and the Blade in Toledo, I think to a large extent they do the same thing. These are not money-making operations anymore.
But why does it have to be a money-making operation? Why does everything in our culture have to make money? Can't something just break even?
Well, how...
Can it be enough for the billionaire who owns that company to just break even?
Well, I think,
to make enough to make the papers and pay the people.
Well, I think
and
that's
give yourself something.
Yeah, and I think that's how they're operating now. Although I don't think they're breaking even, I do think they're losing money. I don't know, but you can't expect. So we're just relying on the generosity and ego of a few very, very, very rich people to continue to put out these newspapers. And you see when the corporate interest, like Gannett, comes in and takes over a local paper like it did in Green Bay, Wisconsin. We had a good little paper there. They took it over. It is like, you can't even, there's nothing in it. Nothing. It's eviscerated and embarrassing. It's appalling. And that's happened all over the country. Great newspapers have been destroyed. The St. Louis Post-Dispatch, destroyed. And you see it happening in our two local papers here. I don't know.
And they literally keep getting smaller, right? They're not even a full-size piece of paper anymore.
Right. You can hardly line a bird cage, and if you got a big fish to wrap, you don't have enough paper. It's really that. But how are we going to get news? How are we going to know? It's the newspapers more than any other media who did pay people, smart people, dogged reporters, to find out what was going on really in government and, unveiling corruption and this and that. I mean, Richard Nixon still be the damn president without reporters doing their work. I don't know what to...
That's the better question, is how do we get the right or correct information? Because you can Google anything and come up with any windbag.
Mm-hmm.
You wasted 2 hours of your life listening to all those lies last night.
Yeah.
That could be considered news.
Yeah.
But, how are we going to get the correct news? Where
I don't know.
people literally, research whether an answer is correct or not.
Well, in a day, I have to serve on a panel on Friday at Duquesne University, and my panel is about the difference between perception and reality. And I got to tell you, there is no reality anymore. There are no true, honest stories because there has to be agreement, doesn't there? It seems like perception has trumped reality in our culture now. In our political culture, it certainly has. You can have your own reality.
Right.
Everybody can have their own.
I feel it, hence it's true.
Yeah.
A friend of mine once said, I asked her why she's voting for Bush, and I was really offended by it. And she said, Bush makes me feel safe. And I said, well, there's how we disagree, because I don't vote for how someone makes me feel. I vote for positions they hold and how they could make my life or other people's lives better.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you are in the minority.
I know that, and that's why I call you.
Well, people vote on their perceptions. They don't vote on reality. They aren't even acquainted with reality anymore.
And I think they vote like the Steelers versus the Packers.
Yeah.
I'm a Packers fan. And
yeah.
It doesn't matter if 10 Packers have been, accused of rape.
Right.
They're still a Packers fan.
Yeah.
I think people vote that way.
Yeah. Well, we're in trouble.
Will we be alive to see the overthrow of the computer, of the robot overlords is the only question I have.
No.
Can I outlast it?
No. You're just going to be, I don't know how old you are, but you're just going to have a front row seat to the, you already have a seat at the beginning of this move to make humans, into unthinking, programmed, cyborgs, which people are very happily, willing to do, apparently. I don't know what to tell you. I don't think if you're a sentient being, you can look at what's going on in the world and not see disaster. I'm serious. Did you call just to
depressing me?
Yeah, well, thanks. You're the one. If you hadn't called, I wouldn't have had to. Okay, goodbye.
Happy Wednesday. Bye.
Yeah. Bye. Happy Wednesday. I'm being told that, Facebook is now worth more than Walmart. Facebook's market value is nearly $245 billion, an amazing feat for a company that's only been around for 11 years. And only started trading on Wall Street 3 years ago. The stock is up more than 11% this year. It's a whole new world. It's a whole new world. And we're going to be running individually and collectively to keep up with it. And a lot of us older farts are just going to, I don't know. I'm glad I'm not going to be around. I feel for... Celine, will you send me dispatches from the... Well, seriously, in 50 years when I'm dead and gone, can you, telepathically let me know how bad things are? Whether or not you've been, reduced to, I don't know.
I'll let you know how the apocalypse is.
Can you, how's the apocalypse going? What happens first? The total Hey, Jesus better hurry up, by the way, because by the time he gets down here, they ain't going to be any. There's just going to be a bunch of robots. I mean, yeah. Hey, Jesus, step on it. God. Okay, so where are we? Somebody mentioned football? Oh, yeah, we got a call, though, too. I haven't even gotten any of my... Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Go ahead.
The amount of employees that the Trib has is 1,100.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's the survivors? Or does that include these guys who are going to lose their... Probably...
It's 152 of the company's 1,100.
Okay, so they're going to go...
Yeah.
Under 1,000 when these guys go. It'll be 900 something.
Yes, correct. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
The
Bye.
numbers guy. Okay, thank you. You know, a newspaper, it takes a lot of people to do a newspaper. Think about it. You have a whole big sales department, advertising. You've got a whole big sports department. You got a news department. You got features. You got administration. You have the production end. You have the photographers. You've got reporters. You've got editors. I don't know. I only know that part, but there's a whole business end that employs a lot of people. Fewer and fewer, I must say. Well, I don't mean to depress you. I mean, there's nothing we can do about any of this shit. We're living, we happen to, be happy you're alive. Here you are, you got your moment, we're alive. My son reminded me the other day, he said, most of the time on this earth you spend dead. I thought, oh, jeez. He said, you're only alive for bang, but the rest of the time you're dead. Make the most of it.
Get him on here for
Huh?
a stand-up hour.
We should, put Sam on to do stand-up. Oh, but he was perfectly serious. Most of your life, you're dead. First, you're unborn, a twinkle in someone's eye. Then you get this, little second where you're, where am I? What's going on? Jesus Christ! And then you're dead. And I mean, to want to get a handle on it, give it up. Embrace chaos, uncertainty, and terror. Drink heavily, try drugs. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. What are we going to... Hey, it's everyone for themselves. Ain't going to be pretty. No. What do you want to do about it? I mean... Okay, so you can think about it, but don't get too down in the dumps. There's nothing you can do. We're part of a force that's so... I mean, these are inexorable forces afoot. We can do stuff that impacts our immediate environment and vicinity. We could pay attention, for instance, and in fact elect people who believe global climate change is a huge issue and needs to be dealt with immediately. We have some powers that we in fact rarely use. What was that? 20-some% of registered voters showed up at the election last few weeks ago. So, I mean, you can't... Most people have checked out. They don't take part. And I used to blame people like that. I don't blame them anymore. I really don't. I mean, I understand sort of a existential sort of who gives a... I understand that reaction. I don't respect it. Let's put it that way. Is that possible, to understand something but not respect it? Yeah. Okay, I just got to say, did you see this story that, on last Sunday, the Raiders were here to play the Steelers, and one of the Raiders players on his way out from the locker room to the field walked by a sheriff's deputy who was with a canine dog, with a police dog, okay? And the player taunted the dog. The player lifted his shirt and barked at the dog. Ruff, ruff. And he beat his chest. That's what it says here. He lifted his shirt, beat his chest, and barked at the German Shepherd. Whatever. He's a football player, a gladiator, about to go out and knock people around and get knocked around, and you have to get yourself in a certain state. So walking out, and he sees a big bad police dog, and he has to say, "Hey, you, hey, woo, 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 woo," and then he leaves. Guess what? He might face felony charges. That is the absurdity. Now, okay, we start the story with an absurdity. The Oakland Raider player, by the way, his name is Ray Armstrong. He's a linebacker. It doesn't say, the police dog, we want to say, kept his composure. The police dog, well trained, just sat there, and he was probably thinking, if there was a bubble over his head, who the hell is this crazy person? However, it turns out I can't even believe this. Taunting a police dog is a felony in Pennsylvania. Ray hasn't been charged yet, but apparently the sheriff can do it. He doesn't need the DA. And I'm thinking, back off. That's what I'm saying. Woof, woof. Forget about it. We won the fucking game. Who cares? Okay, and also on the animal front. The new Hotel Monaco down here? Well, it's been around for about a year now. It's a Kimpton hotel. They're very hip. They let you bring your animals in. It's a fancy hotel that you can walk in with your filthy old dang dog, and they'll greet your dog with great affection. And that's because the guy who owned the hotels, incredibly, his name is Kimpton. Isn't that odd? Yes, his name is Kimpton, and he used to bring his border collie to work with him. So he loves it. He always told his employees, go ahead, yada, yada. So guess what? If you work for the Kimpton Hotel, and let's say your dog dies or your cat dies, there is a bereavement policy. You can take up to 3 days. God, I've worked for people who won't even, if your kid dies, they wouldn't let you off. I mean, believe me, those people are out there. They are out there. If Fido dies, no one names a dog Fido. You always have to have a human name now. If Jessica dies, if little Amanda, 3 days bereavement. Man. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Well, you always do. What's up?
I know, it's hard to catch the right thing.
I know. It's impossible.
All I wanted to say is this thing of these people running for president, how they're saying they're going to bring good paying jobs.
As if they can. No, they can't.
How can a president bring a good paying job? I mean, he could try to make minimum wage, laws and different things like that. But he's not going to make these dirty bastards pay.
No.
So that's such a myth.
It is.
I mean, he could create jobs, yeah. by different policies and that.
Well, he could create jobs by, for instance, in getting somehow a Congress that would agree to put a whole bunch of money into like infrastructure repair and, good construction jobs that we'll use to get our bridges back up and our roads. I mean, that's something legitimately that could be done, but it requires a Congress. And we don't have a government that functions anymore.
No.
But you're right, in terms of creating well-paying jobs, that's just not the way it's going. Technology has taken over, and I'd be curious to see, for instance, how many people Facebook employs now that it's the richest company. And there's no employees in these tech.
Yeah.
There are no jobs.
I was surprised to read in today's paper where they said the city employees of Pittsburgh
are going to get $15.
And I thought they're already making that.
No.
And I thought, my God, 15, and I don't know what kind of jobs they were, but I was thinking, that's pathetic.
Oh, there's a lot of city workers who don't make $15 an hour.
Yeah. I mean, our township guys make more than that. At least 20, I bet.
Wow.
Isn't that something, how that is?
Well, I'm telling you, it's something.
Crazy.
It's crazy. So, it is true. So reality has nothing to do with like those debates and the questions that are asked and the answers that are given. It's just bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're in agreement. Good.
Yeah, I don't see where they're going to make good paying jobs. I mean, that just makes me laugh.
No, they're gone.
Yeah, you might create jobs with your policies, but
I mean, if you're lucky enough to be really smart and really educated, you might land some of there are some good jobs, but they require specific skills and a lot of smarts. And you know what? The way it works is most human beings are not really smart. They're just regular, ordinary human beings, and there used to be good jobs.
Yeah, it's a shame.
There aren't anymore. It's as simple as that, and no president can do a damn thing about it because elected leaders are just ephemeral. They come, they go, they come, they go. What's for keeps is global capitalism. That's who's making the rules.
I mean, they don't even want to pay a decent minimum wage, so what
no,
does that tell you?
The Republicans were very clear about that last night.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Okay, bye.
We'll see you.
Yeah, bye. Thank you, Margie. Okay, so yeah, Kimpton Hotels, 3-day bereavement, and get this, they provide pet insurance. And Kimpton has like almost 8,000 employees. Lucky people. Okay, there you have it. It says right here, nearly 1 in 3 people feel grief and sadness for at least 6 months after the death of a beloved animal. Man, I can attest to that. And 1 in 5 actually just get knocked down by it. They experience the same numbness, disbelief, anger, guilt, all of it that you would for a human death. And people who make fun of that are jerks. For a lot of people, that an animal provides them more comfort, more unconditional joy and love than any other being in their lives. And you can say, well, that's pathetic. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's wonderful that animals and us can give each other so much, I think. Bit of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Hank Penza. I don't know him either. Never knew him. But Hank, turns out, was like the last holdout in Lower Manhattan when they started piece by piece destroying what had been the East Village. He was a holdout. He had a dive bar. I mean, a real dive bar called Mars Bar. And the Mars Bar it says here, I'd never been in there, was a defiant drinking bunker. All cinder blocks and roller shutters at the southwest corner of 2nd Avenue and 1st Street. And Hank Penza owned it, ran it, and he actually said, I'll tell you what, proud of this place. I love our customers. He said, the only kind of people I do not want in my establishment are stockbrokers, investment brokers, and lawyers. Gotta love him. Hank Penza. He held out till 2011, and then there was no way to hold out anymore. And it's no longer there, but he's now gone too at the age of 82. And there's a Whole Foods like around the corner from where it was, and there's all those kinds of things. But the East Village, which was a wondrous kind of organic neighborhood of such... I remember going when I was a teenager on a... do we have a call? Yeah, okay. Hang on. Hello? Hi.
Hi, is this Lynn Cullen?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay. Just a little bit of trivia.
Okay.
When you're talking about pets and pet owners and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
In Bushart Gardens in British Columbia, my daughter took me there to these beautiful gardens. And they were lovely, and we're walking around, and I was thirsty, so I went to a water fountain. And I'm drinking, and I look down, and there's a little bitty water fountain close to the ground.
Aww.
And it was for the dogs.
Oh, how nice.
And I thought, oh, how cute. And then of course, I'm looking around to see, so the gardens are clean, but they're meticulous. But you can bring your dog there to the garden.
That's very nice.
Just,
okay.
Story.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Bye-bye.
It puts actually a picture in my head of when I had my dog, Lucy. We used to go up to Frick Park. No, that's Mellon Park. Excuse me. Mellon Park. Where the like arts center is, and yeah, up there. There, supposedly dogs weren't supposed to run free there, but we did. They did, and there was a water fountain outside, and it was amazing. I mean, you had to have a big dog to be able to do it, but it was just wonderful how many dogs ran over to it and stood up on it. And they needed a helping hand because somebody had to turn it for them, but they would lap it up. My dog would never do it, much to my chagrin. But yeah, dogs. You gotta love them. You do. So I remember on my, we took a family trip when I must have been about 12. And we went to New York with my parents. And I remember we were going down to the East Village to look at the beatniks. A hick family from Green Bay, Wisconsin. And we went, seriously, I remember being almost scared. I thought, we're going to look at beatniks. And we went, and there they were. There were some scruffy-looking people. And I remember my father saying things like, look at that. And that was a human being. I mean, look at that. Little did my poor dad know that within 4 or 5 years, his own sweet middle child would feel perfectly at home with those beatniks. Oh, God. Okay. So hang on here. It's a bad day for fantasy football folks because it looks like there's a big fight a-brewing. The New York Attorney General has said that the two big fantasy sports companies, DraftKings and Duel, cannot accept any bets from residents of New York State, which is a whole hunk of money because, according to those the companies, there are, hundreds of thousands of New York State residents who already place bets with them. They cannot take those bets anymore. And because according to the New York State AG, and by the way, for some reason, the New York State Attorney General, that position, no matter who holds it, seems to often be held by somebody who perceives their position as a consumer advocate. They go after they go after business a lot. And in this case, he just says this is an illegal gambling enterprise. And I suspect he's right. The interesting thing is, it's too I never understand gambling or betting or anything. I don't even understand odds. But this could be the beginning of a attempt to take down what has become overnight practically a multi-billion-dollar industry. And here's the thing. He's taken on the NFL with this because the NFL is in cahoots with it's fascinating to me, and Major League Baseball and all these things. It's fascinating to me because nearly every NFL team has a sponsorship deal with one of these guys. And some of the biggest names in the NFL in ownership, like that noxious Jerry Jones of the Cowboys and doddering old Robert Kraft of the New England Patriots, those two owners have actual equity stakes in the companies. Isn't that a little... Excuse me. Did Pete Rose get, knocked out of Major League Baseball because he supposedly bet on games? Mm-hmm. Is he still out and vilified? Pretty much, yeah. Well, here you have owners of the Dallas Cowboys and the New England Patriots having money, owning, in part, an equity stake in these businesses that gamble on NFL games. If it isn't illegal, it should be. Don't you think? I think most Americans don't. They don't care. You got professional sports leagues that supposedly say it is illegal to gamble on no one in there. If a football player was found gambling on his game, that guy's gone. Like Pete Rose. But here you have the owners of the team having financial partnerships with the gambling sites. What's wrong with this picture? I don't care enough about this to trouble my little head about it, but I'm just saying that much I get. And this is an industry that has, just zipped into, as I said, multi-billion-dollar status. It needs to be regulated at the very least, and it is not. So kudos to the New York AG. I just am against gambling in general. Aaron writes, I've never been clear on this. What exactly was a beatnik? Well, beatniks were before the hippies. Beatniks, I think, sort of started up post-World War II, exemplified by Allen Ginsberg and his poetry, Burroughs, it was a lifestyle, in which I think, marijuana probably played a pretty big role. Homosexuality was in the open. Anti-establishment, politically left.
Less peace and love oriented, though. That was a hippie thing.
Yes. Then, Celine, I'm agreeing with Celine because she said then the hippies come in during the Vietnam, and they take on a lot of the same kind of the look, but as Celine just said, sotto voce, that the hippies, though, took a turn more toward the sort of hippy-dippy love and peace because that arose out of anti-war movement. So the hippies were a little bit later, but there's there's definitely a lot in common. I think the beatniks were a more cerebral bunch, more sort of intellectual. And the hippies were more, let's party. And while we're partying, let's end this damn war. Let's get into Eastern mysticism. It was, they are different, but both beatniks and hippies were different iterations of anti-establishment movements, I would say, of mostly young people. That's off the top of my head. What exactly was a beatnik? Aaron writes, kind of like a hippie, only better dressed, is what I always sort of thought. I don't think they were better dressed. He says, were they clean? Well, we didn't think so, but I mean, from my Midwestern roots, we thought, oh, God. Bleh. I think beatniks were cleaner than hippies. I mean, if you were doing a generalization, there were some really stinky hippies I knew back in the day. I mean, seriously stinky. And they did it as a political statement. I don't bathe, I don't use any deodorant, and I mean, some of them were really, and then, I mean, I was a hippie of sorts. Somebody is saying, did you say perception has trumped reality? Yeah, I did. Trump. A man named Trump is running and is ahead in the game. Oh, wow. And Margie wants us to know that her opinion is Jerry Jones is a big pile of shit. Okay. Well, that's to the point. And I should note in the obits that Alan Toussaint, who was a great R&B producer and songwriter, has died at the age of 77. I heard on NPR yesterday him playing the piano and singing Mother-in-Law, which he wrote. He didn't, somebody else covered, I don't know who covered, and God, was the lyrics. I don't think I ever really heard the lyrics. The lyrics are just funny, cute, smart. His lyrics are smart. And he wrote for so many, I mean, he was supposed to do a gig next month with Paul Simon. And the Rolling Stones covered his Fortune Teller, right? The Who did too. So, nice looking guy. Anyway, he died. He was in Madrid, and he had just done a concert. 77 years old. And I still haven't seen the video, because I'm lazy, of the so-called professor at Mizzou who I heard it, who flat out tried to get a student reporter, from covering the story. And she said, "You got to get out of here." And he said, "No." I mean, the reporter was absolutely right. He said, this is a public space. I'm here." And then you can hear her screaming, "Who wants to help me get this reporter out of here? I need some muscle over here." Let's clarify. She's not a journalism professor. She's a media professor. Maybe hence she doesn't, and she's in big trouble. She's out of a job is what's going to happen to her. She was not a teaching professor, so to call her a professor in general is not right. Her name is Melissa Clark, and she has what is described as a courtesy appointment at the School of Journalism, meaning she ain't making shit. It's probably like an adjunct kind of thing. But it means she can serve on student thesis review panels. And the dean of this journalism school, a much well-regarded journalism school, by the way, at Missouri, it says this: journalism school faculty members are taking immediate action to review her appointment. She be gone. And, in fact, the student leaders came out unequivocally yesterday and said... they distributed leaflets saying that media, quote, has a First Amendment right to occupy this campsite. Yes. So that's good. All right. I think we're done. Tomorrow, who the hell knows? But I'm intending to show up. I hope you do too. Have a great day.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.